The people of Undermere visit strange horticulture with many requests. Some seek remedies for their health, or to help them sleep. Some need the perfect gift to make a new friend. Some simply wish to scratch the ears of the store's cat, Hellebore. All are searching for something. As for me, I spend my days collecting and identifying the unusual plants of this land. Winterbore to repel insects, Pavilium to open any lock, Jacob's Worth to find what is lost, Daisy Dog to grant courage, Long Veracund to lift a curse. Most who visit my shop have small and simple needs, though sometimes they can be mischievous, even sinister. Occasionally their stories intertwine, offering me a glimpse at larger events. I aim to serve them all with wisdom and discretion. But even I can be swept into the deeper and darker mysteries of Undermere. There are whispers that the leader of the local witches' coven has died under mysterious circumstances. Circumstances that happen to require the expertise of a horticulturist. From hypnotic hallucinogens to powerful poisons, I can use my plants to influence the mysteries around me. For good or for ill.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Suzanne Wallace, Marketing Manager of Iceberg Interactive, and today I am joined by the developers of Strange Horticulture, Rob and John. I'm going to hand right over to them. Please introduce yourselves a little bit to our lovely fans.
Hi, I'm Rob. So I'm one half of Bad Viking. John's my brother. And we've been working together making games for over a decade now. Started out just after uni, actually whilst I was still at uni, making Flash games. So shout out to anyone who played one of my first ever published games, Panda Tactical Sniper.
Gosh, that's a long time ago, Rob.
Yeah, it's a while ago, eh?
So I'm John. I'm Rob's bigger brother. I'm the artist for Bad Viking, and we started off making Flash games years ago. We made a little game called Bad Eggs Online. Shout out to any of those people as well. And and then in the last sort of 3-4 years, we've moved into Unity, and we're making games there, and we've just made Strange Horticulture.
Everyone watching today will have been able to now see the new and latest trailer that we've unveiled during Steam Next Fest. So they will have been able to see just a little bit more of the gameplay. But just in case they haven't watched that trailer yet, you should go and watch it. Would you like to introduce this game, let them know a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's quite a weird game, right? There's not a whole lot out there quite like it, but we've kind of compared it to Papers, Please. I think that's what a lot of people would compare it to. It's obviously something that inspired us. One of those games that kind of taught us that you can do quite different stuff that doesn't really fit in a genre necessarily. So yeah, Strange Horticulture. It's weird. It's about plants. It's about people coming to you and you give them plants. And those plants have kind of magical properties. And it's got this kind of cool, relaxed vibe where you just sit inside on a rainy day and stroke your cat and chill out with your plants.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so the way we've sort of pitched it is it's an occult Papers, Please with a sort of Sherlock Holmesy vibe. Where you own a shop and sell strange and unusual plants, and that basically encompasses it pretty well.
Yeah, you play as a horticulturalist. Or it's a
That's
horticulturist. I always want to
That's
put
the
an
one,
extra AL in there.
That's yeah. I haven't really thought about it. I think I always pronounce it horticulturist.
Yeah, it's a tricky word, one that's not commonly used day to day. We don't have many horticulture shops.
Yeah.
Most places, depending on where you live, I suppose. It's sort of similar to, I mean, if you look at it, you might think it looks similar to an apothecary, but it is strictly for plants, selling unique and unusual plants. And yeah, we described it often as sort of an occult puzzle game, where
Right, yeah.
you go around the local area, identify new plants, serve customers who come into your shop who are looking for all kinds of plants for all kinds of reasons. And as you said, it's quite a cozy experience because you can hear the rain pounding on the windows of your shop. You will pet your cat. Oh, he's just out of reach and he's asleep. And it's that kind of game. And in fact, if anyone is interested in checking it out, keep in mind that the demo is live during Next Fest, so you can try it out today. And it's a newly updated demo. So even if you've played it before at a previous event, you should check it out again. So today I wanted to sit down with both of you and talk a little bit more about sort of the story behind strange horticulture, which, by the way, if we didn't mention already, is actually the name of the shop in the game.
That's right, yeah.
So how did this game come to be? What were some of the inspirations for this game? Anything in particular that put the idea into your head?
So actually, well, I was in kind of game ideas mode where for me, that just basically means I wander around and I look at stuff and I think, could that be part of a game? You just look around you for inspiration. So I actually remember it quite well. I was just wandering around my neighborhood, walking my dog, and I saw an advert on a notice board that just said the word horticulture, and I thought, horticulture, that's a cool word. And we'd been kind of thinking about these occulty ideas, and I just thought, yeah, strange horticulture, that is such a great concept for a game. And I think sometimes people like to say that an idea just fell into their head and it's like fully formed and everything, but it definitely wasn't like that. It took quite a lot of hammering to get from strange horticulture. yeah, it's just a name at first.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Rob came back from this walk and he said, "I've got an idea," and he just went, "It's called strange horticulture, and that's all I've got." And I went, "Yeah, I like that. That sounds interesting. There's something in that."
Because I think just that, it conjures up these kind of ideas of obviously plants, and then we knew early on that it was going to have kind of like plants were going to be your sort of your spells. Don't really want to use the word spells because that's not really it, but like that was going to be your way of engaging with the world through plants.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took quite a while to hammer it out, and I think once we got the idea that there was going to be a map into it, that really started to fit things together. And that we were really inspired by a board game called Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Yeah. I think I played that, actually.
Oh, yeah? Oh, great. It's
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's obviously Sherlock Holmes based, but it's really unique. I think it's from like the 80s or something. It's not a new game, but I think they kind of re-released it. And yeah, you get all this like stuff that you can play with. Like there are newspapers and there's a map, and I really liked all that kind of tactile stuff, and we wanted to put things like that in. So as soon as we kind of thought, oh yeah, we can definitely have a map, and we can have these puzzles where you point to different locations on the map, it kind of all came from that and fit it together.
Were there any books or films that you watched and thought, oh, I think I'll add something from that into the game?
I mean, I guess you could say it's loosely inspired by Lovecraftian elements. Like
Ooh.
there are some sort of occult undertones to the game. Um,
Yeah, there's a bit of magic.
there is a bit of magic, but in terms of uh, film and sort of books and stuff, film. I mean, you could say Little Shop of Horrors, maybe, but it's not something that I've seen for a while. But there are sort of bits from there you could sort of that are inspiring. But in terms of books, I mean, we'll probably get onto it later. But there's a book called Brereton's Complete Herbal,
Got it right here.
which
Nice. Yeah.
It just sits on my desk all the time. In fact, I've got the other one as well, Brereton's Phantasmagoria. So I had this one first. It's so good. It's like just full of, myths and legends and all that cool stuff from around the world. I absolutely love it. Like basically, this is just game inspiration fodder. There's so much in there. You could make about 1,000 games out of just this book. And then, when we were looking for stuff about plants, this one came up, which is based on this guy called Nicholas Culpeper. He wrote like a guide to plants, basically in I think the 17th century, something like that. And obviously, it's full of all that kind of magic, basically. Like plants could do amazing things in their minds because
it's like back then, like it's this idea that it's much more like holistic approach to medicine, and plants and had properties. They still do. Some plants are used in medicine to this day, and but back then they had almost a mystical quality, and we really wanted to tap into that, and so that's why it's sort of set in this like sort of 1800s Victorian age, sort of real but not real. It's a fictional universe, but there are elements of it that are based in the real world as well.
Yeah, it won't seem. It'll seem a sort of familiar world, even though it is its own unique area, and the people within are their own unique characters. When you started working on the game, what sort of came first? Because there is, we won't spoil it so that fans can enjoy it for themselves, but there is an overarching story in the game that they'll experience and can influence. Did that story come first? Was it the idea of the plants and the puzzles around them? Was it the cat that came first? Where did everything begin?
Well, it certainly wasn't the cat. That was something of an afterthought. I guess, well, apart from the name, when Rob came back and said, Strange Horticulture, we got to sort of working on it and thinking about it. Came up with this sort of map idea and exploring puzzles and things. And then we just toyed around with concepts of how it was going to work. I think the starting point for us was that we wanted to make this game all fit into one screen and be sort of like quite minimal on UI and have like that tactile thing from the board game, so there's elements that you can pick up and do and turn pages and things like that. So
I think that was a big Papers, Please influence as well, wasn't it? Because that's all mostly on one screen, and we really liked that. We really liked how, again, tactile that was.
It kind of focuses you to like sort of streamline the game as well and get rid of like a lot of stuff that you wouldn't need and stuff. So I think it really sort of made us think about how we can fit our game into this one screen. And then we just sort of started prototyping. The desk and all of the things came in quite quickly in the shop. And then the sort of plant idea and people coming to you and asking plants. But I mean, before that, I think we had this idea that originally we wanted to sort of craft and be a bit more of like a horticulturist who sort of like takes cuttings and merges them and sort of like so it had a bit more crafting elements in it. But then it sort of turned into more like a potion crafting concept, and we wanted to bring it back to horticulture. So then we had this idea that it's going to be, okay, so plants, I mean, I don't know about you, but I go out into the world, I find it really hard to identify plants, one plant from another. So we thought there's something in that. Your plants are difficult to identify, so let's make it actually more about identifying plants, but also exploring and finding new plants. And then once all those sort of things came together, I mean, there are still elements of crafting. There are, later in the game, you can brew elixirs and things. But yeah, it sort of just came from all that, and then the story came much later. We had this idea that we wanted to tell a narrative, but actually that was probably the hardest aspect of putting this together by far.
Yeah.
The story bit was definitely, it definitely came later, and as you say, it was difficult because we like puzzle games, and we have made several puzzle games in the past, so I think that kind of came quite naturally to us. And yeah, it's quite a confined space to tell a story, actually, because you need the customers to need plants from you. So it was quite tricky fitting that into our game.
Not only that, we wanted the player to become or take on the role of the horticulturist. So in that sense, if you are taking on the role in the game, we can't provide the dialogue of the inner monologue of the player. So all of the conversations you have are one-sided, like you're sort of filling in the blanks almost. And that's actually quite a hard way to tell a story when you can't give your put yourself into it. It becomes a bit difficult.
It's very much a player insert game where they assume the role of this horticulturist, and they are the player is experiencing conversations with these customers, some of which, and the story sort of appears naturally through these little conversations that you have, these little sort of one-sided dialogues, as you say. And that's how you realize that there's stuff going on out there. There are events that different people are involved in. Some of those are the same events. Some of those characters are interacting outside your shop, and that becomes quite clear. And the story kind of unfolds naturally from that. But it is a really fun and interesting way to see that story happen. And then there's a few ways that the player playing as this horticulturist can then have choices that'll make the story go in one direction or another. But the core gameplay is about plants because ultimately you're running a plant shop, essentially.
That's right. I mean, and strange botany doesn't sound as good as strange horticulture.
Right? No, not quite as spooky British. It's sort of the vibe that I think of. And I mean, how much, you mentioned you're not that good at identifying plants. And I know I'm not. When I'm that person who goes on a hike and I say, oh, look at that beautiful flower. What is that? No idea. Never look it up. Just keep admiring it.
There's too many plants in the world, and they're all slightly similar with similar features, and it's actually really hard. I mean, obviously these days there are apps that allow you to do that, but
all you need is Google Lens now.
I remember my mum, like when we used to go out for walks when we were kids, like she would be really good at identifying wildflowers, and she'd be able to pick out the names and stuff. Like, and I always thought that was really cool, but I haven't picked up any of that knowledge at all.
And that's okay for players too, right? They don't have to magically become learn overnight, read their own.
You don't need to have a biology degree or anything like that.
Right. But even so, there's such a wide variety of plants that folks will see in this game. And how, you've just said that you're not that great at identifying plants out there. So how did you come up with all of these designs?
Well, I mean, we started with the Brereton's Complete Herbal and then just sort of like started looking at. I just went into nature and just started taking pictures of plants and stuff. I like these sort of leaves and that sort of stuff, and just drew a load of concept flowers. And they started off looking, because obviously I like the idea of strange, and I made them too strange. And then we were like, oh no, then we want to pare it back to looking a bit more actually like plants that could exist in our world. But we also wanted to make sure that they weren't like actual real plants, just because then we could play with more of like the magical properties and sort of like the look and feel of the plants. And we just started working with that and putting loads of plants together.
Is there any like one plant that has a direct one-to-one inspiration in the real world?
There is. So there's eyebright, which is a real plant that's called eyebright. It doesn't look like what it looks like in the game, but that's one that because we did do obviously some research into like plants that have magical properties, obviously using Brereton's and just googling so eyebright I think is the only one that we use the actual name of a plant that is supposed to enhance your vision or be good for your eyesight.
Yeah. This is a bit of a selfish question because I just really want to know, but what about the cat? There is a cat in the game who appears to simply live in your shop named Hellebore. Can you tell me everything that you know about him?
Well, the question is the cat the player's cat, or did he just come with the shop?
It's a great question. I don't know.
I think he's your cat. So the cat actually came about because we were toying with this idea of having one of the characters do something quite heinous to make you really hate him. And
I know which character.
It got put forward that maybe he could kill a pet of yours, and John put this forward, and I was just instantly like, "Whoa, no, that's too heinous! I am not putting a pet in the game that then gets murdered."
I was the one pushing to kill a cat. What a terrible idea that was! Oh god.
That is what put the idea of having a pet into our heads. And,
I see.
And we thought, this game needs a cat. Like, it just fit, and it had to be a black cat, obviously.
Obviously.
But yeah, it did fit really well, like with the sort of relaxed, sort of armchair playing environment that we wanted to create with this game.
Yes.
So it's like stormy weather outside. There's a cat purring on your counter. It's like sitting in front of the fire with a good book. That's the kind of what we were trying to encapsulate with Strange Horticulture. So the cat definitely fits, and we really enjoy putting him in.
Yeah. Do either of you have cats, or is there a black cat in your family?
No.
We used to have cats when we were really young kids, but unfortunately they both passed away quite young, and then Rob really wanted a dog, so now we're a dog family.
Nice.
Between the whole family, there are 4 dogs in our family, which is, and I'm the only one without a dog. So.
Maybe that means you need a black cat.
Yeah, maybe it
does. Yeah.
Or any cat, for that matter. But yeah, it is quite enjoyable. Oh, the question, of course, that will be on anyone and everyone's mind is: can you pet the cat in the game?
Oh, of course. Yeah. We wanted to make him at least somewhat interactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is quite interactive.
Yeah.
He'll respond to getting scritches. And in fact, if I remember correctly, he'll follow your mouse around, your cursor, if it's near him.
Yeah.
Actually, I will give credit to our wonderful community manager, Eric Doms, who made a GIF that is still on Twitter somewhere of
like
it looks quite like Hellebore is reacting to catnip because Eric was using the cursor to make him go look all around. So you can do that in the game, which is quite enjoyable. But it does, as you say, it adds very much to that cozy, comfortable vibe of sitting in your shop with or without customers in. And it's the area of the shop of the neighborhood is a town called Undermere, which is sort of a quaint town surrounded by this incredible landscape that, as you say, you can explore via the in-game map. And that whole town kind of contributes to this quaint, cozy, comfortable setting. And I wanted to know from you, like, where did the idea of this town come from? Were you thinking of a particular place when you were designing the game?
Yeah, so the whole game is set in the Lake District in the UK. So obviously it's a slightly fictionalized version of it, but there's a town there called Windermere and Lake Windermere, which we just cleverly shifted to Undermere.
The creepier
just to give it those
yeah, just a slightly sinister
undertones,
slightly weird. We came up with that for a different game prototype that we sort of started working on. We'd come up with this world of Undermere, but we'd never taken it any further, so we were like, oh yeah, let's definitely set it there. We grew up going on holidays to the Lake District, and I think it's for me, it's the most stunning place in our country. It's just absolutely incredible, and it's got all this kind of great history and local lore that we could tap into. So we've put a little bit of that into the game as well.
Is any of that local lore sort of magical? I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to give too much away. There's a puzzle surrounding like one bit that it's like it involves witches basically, and yeah.
I mean, something that is known very early on in the game is that this is a land where there is a local witches coven, and they're just your neighbors. So there is this is a magical version of the Lake District.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not, the towns and cities, well, I don't know if they really have cities in the Lake District, but the towns and villages and hamlets are all like real places apart from Undermere. And then, we've kind of dotted around our own little, characters that live in the castles and abbeys and stuff like that around there, and just kind of little magical tweaks here and there.
Yeah, you will meet many characters in Strange Horticulture, some of whom you'll get to know a bit better than others. Some of them are just sort of characters that come into your shop. There's a wide cast of characters, some of which are recurring, is I suppose one way to put it. But without giving too much away, of course, from the game and from the larger story within it, what can you let people know about that exciting cast of characters that they will meet?
I thought you were going to pick up on that one, John.
No, sorry.
As you say, there's a wide bunch of them, and some of them will keep coming back to you. There's a few that they just drop in and then drop out, and they don't play a wider part. But as you say, the story it's told quite passively, so you don't kind of actively have a big role in the kind of big events that are going on, but you can subtly influence stuff through your plants. And so some of the characters that are doing stuff are like, we have this investigator who is looking into a murder that happens, or a death I should say, that happens near the start of the game. And we have an occult scholar who, I think she's probably my favourite character, Verona Green. She's like this kind of wise older lady who has been studying the occult all her life, and she is the one who kind of really twigs that actually there's something strange about this murder, and there's something. I should stop saying murder. It might not be a murder.
I think when you first meet the detective, he's literally says he's investigating a murder.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Maybe we can say it is a murder. But yes, so she's the first one who kind of realizes there's something strange about this, and maybe there's some occult influence in it. And so she's kind of your main guide to what's going on out there. I kind of have in my head that, well, she's very loosely based on Granny Weatherwax from the Discworld novels.
Yeah.
That was a small inspiration there, I suppose. But also, I think Gandalf, when he's got all this. Well, he doesn't know what the ring is at first, does he? So he goes off to look at his scrolls and stuff, and bring back the information. He's like, oh yeah. So that's kind of her role in the game.
That's great. Granny Weatherwax, in case anyone doesn't know what Discworld is the wonderful book series by the late great Terry Pratchett. But that makes a lot of sense because if I remember right, Granny Weatherwax is the one who is extremely smart and pretends to be older and weaker and dumber than she actually is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, Rob and I are massively inspired by Discworld, not just the novels, but back in the when we were younger, we played. There were 2 adventure games, point-and-click adventure games, Discworld and Discworld 2, which we were obsessed with. Not just the games, but the humour and the voice acting and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of that kind of stuff has filtered into our games over the years.
Yeah.
Pratchett was just such a rich storyteller, and came up with such great characters and were full of humour and brilliant.
Yeah. Well, John got a chance to mention that. Rob mentioned that Verona is your favorite, right?
Yeah.
But then, John, do you have a favorite character?
I mean, I think I agree with Rob. Like, Verona's always been sort of like the character we've kind of had in our heads as being. I mean, there's not really a central protagonist, as it were, in this character, because the protagonist is yourself playing the game.
Right.
And it's kind of like a cast of other characters who sort of are helping you along, like bringing you into this these events that are happening in the outside world, and you're sort of like following along through their sort of interaction with the story and sort of subtly influencing the outcome with your choices and things. So yeah, I mean, I like all the characters really. It was fun putting them together. The investigator is an interesting character. There's well, I'll probably spoil some stuff if I go into too much detail. So I think I'll just leave it as there. But even the characters that just are sort of not part of the wider story, but they come in and they offer you flavours of the world that you inhabit, and some still come back to you with repeat stories like that. They're their own sort of small story nugget, but they're interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the whole thing is just interesting, just as it is. Yeah.
Yeah, in Strange Horticulture, it's very much a peek into what I believe to be a quite well fleshed out world. The stories might not explore every single nook and cranny of that world, but the characters that you meet are fully realized characters. My personal favorite, although Verona is fantastic, is Simone, who is the librarian at the nearby hamlet Ambleside, the Ambleside Library, And two, for one thing, is a great fan of Hellebore, and
Yes.
will make sure to
True.
greet him. She's also a supplier of some of your plant information, and this is not a spoiler, but some of the characters are, as I said, sort of recurring characters, and you'll see little character cards, little bios for them within the game as you meet them. And Simone's card mentions that she's recently taken on the mantle of being the librarian, and she's organizing this whole old ancient library with all of its information, which is why she keeps suddenly coming up with new stuff that'll help you in running your shop.
Yeah, there are certain characters that sort of have a wider sort of impact on the story, and those characters have bio cards for them, and they are sometimes useful for plot points, but also they just sort of help develop the characters and enrich them with backstory.
Yeah. So obviously the sequel is going to be about Simone.
Yeah, I would love for her to have a more central role, actually. Well, I mean, no, I can't say that, but yeah, she's a cool character. We always liked her, and I think there was some. We never wanted to have this kind of romantic interest, because, as you say, it's a player insert role, and the protagonist doesn't have a gender, so there was never kind of any strong relationship, like romantically, in there. But we had toyed with that idea with Simone, but tossed it to one side.
Well, they don't have any agenda, but there are choices that the player can make. It's not an agenda belonging to a presupposed character of the horticulturist, because you can play it however you like. Can you tease perhaps some of the kinds of choices that players will get to make without revealing too much?
Yeah, sure. So we really wanted the choices to be interesting, for one. So we wanted to give the players a little bit of a kind of hint, I suppose, before each choice. So it's never just a kind of blind, well, if I pick this or I pick this, I don't have any gauge on what the outcome might be. So one of the earliest choices that you make, for example, and where you kind of first learn that the game has choices, is with this guy who, I mean, for one, he's mean to your cat, so he's not a good guy, and I think you know immediately that maybe, if he's not nice to your cat, then maybe I can use my plants to get back at him. So we give the player that option, and there will be consequences to that. You're not just going to be able to do whatever you please and get away with it necessarily, but I think that was our approach to all the choices in the game. We wanted them to be, one, to have as I say, some sort of hint as to how to approach it, and then two, some interesting consequence of that choice, and then
but also that there is no right or wrong answer. You can choose whichever path you would like to choose in the game, and if that means you make one choice over another, like, it might lead to a slightly different outcome, but it doesn't mean that was the wrong choice.
Right.
It's just how you've progressed through the game. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a chance to, we don't want to dictate whether you are the good guy or the bad guy necessarily of this story. You can see it to the conclusion how you see fit, and I think we would consider that there is a kind of main ending, and there's a good ending, I suppose, where the fewest people die, maybe. But there are definitely other ways that you can play it, and that's up to you.
That was something that I personally greatly enjoyed when I was checking out the game myself, was exactly that, how it doesn't, you're never punished for taking one choice over another. They're simply choices. And you can be a good person, but you don't have to be.
Exactly that.
Which
yeah.
can be quite fun, I will say. There's no not fun ending.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to talking a little bit about the magic in this world because, we've used the word occult quite a bit. We've mentioned that there are witches. We've mentioned that the land of Undermere and the surrounding areas have real world inspirations, but they are very much their own sort of magical worlds. Just how magic is this world?
I mean, it's definitely magic. There are, hidden texts and lots of secrets and stuff like that. But it's not kind of traditional magic. It's not like Harry Potter with wizards waving wands around and casting spells and stuff like that. It's a little bit more subtle. So there's rituals and but everything kind of comes back to plants and the powers that plants have. So there's a lot of magic or at least power in the plants, and I suppose that's the kind of main source of magic in the game. Really, even the rituals they'll usually involve some sort of plant.
It's interesting because throughout history, plants with their myriad users, even real world history, have always been a thing. And some of them have turned out to be extremely real. Mold growing on peaches or whatever, was it peaches, are where we got penicillin. And there are all kinds of real world plants that help with headaches and other things that I don't know anything about. And that all just becomes a little bit more real in the land of strange horticulture, where there is a bit of magic. Plants can be really quite powerful.
It's all about kind of taking that existing, as you say, more sort of medicinal values of real world plants and just kind of lifting that up a bit, making it greener, if you like. More vibrant, and really kind of running with that idea that plants have strong powers, and that I love that kind of romantic notion of how in the 1400s whatever, people didn't know what plants could do or whether there really were monsters at the corner of the map, so anything was possible.
The lack of knowledge, knowing for certain what exists in the darkness or out in the wilderness, lends itself to there being a lot more magic in the world, potentially. This is a bit of a personal question, but if you had access to all of the incredibly powerful plants in strange horticulture that we come across, is there a favorite that you would pick? Or, a favorite.
Rob.
You want me to go to?
Well, no. Okay. From my point, I mean, it's hard to remember them all. I'll put it that way. But,
Fair.
There's quite a lot of plants.
Even if you don't remember the names.
But I do remember there is one that for me is just would be a godsend, and that's one called Worryless, which, as you would say, just makes you worry less. I mean, I worry way too much about too many things, always overthinking everything. So that would be lovely, just to be able to take something, just to put my mind at rest. That would be really good.
I mean, I think there are plants in the real world that can do that.
Well, okay.
Maybe not with such magical efficacy.
Right, yeah. For me, I think, I don't know. It's tricky. There's some good ones in there. I think maybe Clavilium that can open any lock. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that's cheating.
It's quite a tough thing to put in a game, actually, because a lot of puzzle games revolve around like keys and different ways of unlocking stuff. So if you just have a plant that unlocks anything, then as you say, it's a bit of a cheat. But actually, I think there's one called, I think it's Red Ebony, that allows you to find that which is hidden.
Oh yeah.
And that actually, I think, came from again a real life mythology of a plant. I can't remember what the actual real one is called, but I think that sounds like a great ability. Find that which is hidden. Just for simple things. I'm not talking about going out and finding buried treasure, although that would be nice. But I mean, the other day I lost my National Trust card, and it's just vanished. I have no idea where it's gone, and well, I'm never getting that back. But if I had red ebony, I could find it again. That'd be nice.
I was gonna pick one of the ones that helps you stay awake and alert, but now I want that because I lose things constantly.
Yeah.
I put my phone down, I walk into another room, and it's like I don't remember ever seeing my phone in the last day.
Yeah.
So, but yes, there are also plants. There's actually more than one plant that give you slightly different kinds of awareness boosts or alertness.
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones in there. Again, I think there's one called, I think it's Mellow Glow, that lets you kind of, it's not invisibility, but it lets you sort of slip by without people noticing you. That's a pretty cool one. Or there's one that grants you strength for short periods. That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, some very exciting magical uses that show up in this game. Well, what if you had to give someone that you love, give a loved one a plant from Strange Horticulture? If you were popping into the shop looking for a gift for whatever, for Mother's Day, for someone's birthday, what plant do you think you would get them?
Oh, I think my wife could do with some Worryless too.
I think we all could.
Yeah, that would help. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think my wife just likes pretty plants. So, from my point of view, it would be whichever one I like the look of.
That's a bit dangerous though, because I was going to say, there's one called Bellanox, which is one of the more beautiful plants in the game, in my opinion. But it has the slightly unfortunate property of sending people a little bit mad and eventually lures them to their deaths. So probably not a great gift plant.
Yeah,
but if it just sits in the vase and looks pretty, I mean, that's all right.
But what if it sort of whispers into their ear when they're around? Yeah. But no, there's some great plants in there that you could give to people, like Palliance, which purifies the air around you, so that would be a nice one, I think. Or
you can put that near your cat litter.
Yeah, that would be great for that. Yeah, that one sits next to Hellebore.
How many of these plants is Hellebore chewing on, I wonder?
Oh, well, I mean, we loved the idea of him just wandering around and knocking plants off the shelves every now and then, stuff like that, but I think that would just get a bit annoying after a while.
He's more of a respectable cat. Perhaps he's a bit older than that, grown out of that phase.
Very wise.
Yeah, he knocked plants off his shelves in his youth, for sure.
But now he's grown out of it, perhaps. Okay, so once again, in case anyone missed my mentioning it earlier, Strange Horticulture has a new updated demo that is live during Steam Next Fest. And from you both, John and Rob, what kind of experience should they expect from the demo, and also what can they hope to take away from the game later on when it comes out? Is there, for example, should they expect a cozy identifying plants game, or a tense mystery game, or perhaps both? What should people expect?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I mean, definitely, as we've said, the vibe that we're going for is cozy, relaxed. There's no time pressure on any of the puzzles or anything like that. You don't have to rush at any point in the game. You just chill out and relax in your little plant shop. But that's what we set out to make, really, is just pure escapism. Take on the role. You are the horticulturist. You can just chill out, tend to your plants, explore a little bit, deal with customers, and just take your time over it, enjoy it. And I think that's really what we want people to take away. Is, I mean, obviously we hope that they love it, but you can't guarantee that. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, we just want people to go in. It's a different game to what I think it's. I mean, I don't like to brand our own game unique because everyone is trying to say, "Oh, our game's unique," but it's different. I mean, and I think if people can go in and just sort of like sit and relax and enjoy it, and there are a number of ways to play it. You can choose to play it about a game about identifying plants and just go through. I mean, our mum played it, and she loved just like going through and like checking all the plants against her book and all that kind of stuff. And then she got to the end of the game and we said, "Well, what do you think of the story?" And she was like, wasn't really paying that much attention to the story. So, and likewise, if you can really get engrossed in the story and the characters. So it just depends how you want to play it, really. And I just hope, people get something out of it. Whether it's they want to play like something with an interesting story, then there's something for them there. If they just want like a sort of chilled, atmospheric, interesting game to play, there's something there. So yeah, that's kind of like what they should expect is like just go in and just have fun.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I've said this both to both of you before, but I'll say it again for the benefit of everyone listening today, that this is the first game that I've played in a while for work, because I do work at Iceberg Interactive. Of course, I wanted to check out the game, play through the demo. That was my introduction to the game. And then when I left work for that day, so I was like, I have access to the longer build. And it's the first time in quite a while that I, in my free time, went and played through the entire game that was currently available to me in that moment. So I can't recommend this as a comfortable, cozy, and also mysterious experience to anyone who wants to check it out. And I really encourage everyone to check out the demo while it's available. There's some lovely new things that, even if you've played it before at previous events, I think are lovely additions and help you see how the game is coming along and how wonderful it's going to turn out at the end of the road.
Thank you. Yeah, the demo is a short introduction. It's sort of like the easing in of the player. It takes place over the first 2 days of the story. The idea is that it sort of just whets your appetite and leaves you with wanting more, but also gives you a good feel for what the game is about and what it's going to be like. So yeah, please go check it out.
Excellent. Okay. That's about all the time that we have to chat today. Thank you so much, John and Rob, for joining me today. Anything else that you wanted to say to everyone before we close up shop?
Well, thanks very much for having us. We've enjoyed being able to talk about strange horticulture. Obviously, we love it, and we hope you guys love it too.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to make a game that people are going to enjoy. We were chatting about strange horticulture, back in early development, and it was Rob that said, "I want to make a game that if just one person can come out of it and say it's their favourite game, then we've achieved our goal." So we just hope that there's someone out there who thinks that strange horticulture is their favourite game, and then we'll be happy. But yeah, just go into it. Just enjoy it, and just hope it's been made with lots of love, and we hope that shines through. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for both of you to sit down with me and talk a little bit more about the inspiration behind Strange Horticulture and what went in, has gone in and is still going into making this lovely, cozy and spooky puzzle game about identifying plants and petting cats. If you would like to check out Strange Horticulture, please do play the demo while it's live during Next Fest, and wishlist the game on Steam, watch the trailer on YouTube, all of those things, and follow it as well on Steam so you can hear about new updates as the game comes along and gets closer to launch. And otherwise, thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.